Tyler Perry was once their guardian angel, the man who opened his Los Angeles mansion to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle when they fled the UK. No paparazzi, no press, just peace. Or at least that's how the story was told. Now, the same man who offered them sanctuary might be the one tearing it all down. Not out of spite, but out of legal liberation. Because when Perry was slammed with a $260 million lawsuit over workplace misconduct, Meghan's reaction wasn't support, it was silence. And in doing so, she may have activated a dangerous clause buried deep in a private agreement.
Tyler Perry was one of the few A-listers who loudly defended Harry and Meghan after the Oprah interview. He gave them a home, a private jet, an exit strategy. And now, amid serious allegations, Harry and Meghan have gone silent. Harry once told Anderson Cooper, silence is betrayal.
The Sussexes have always claimed their lives were built on honesty, that their departure from royal duties was about freedom, healing, and telling the truth. But now that narrative is under fire because if Tyler Perry really has what insiders say he does, emails, voice notes, strategy calls, then their carefully polished image could be nothing more than a marketing campaign built on selective storytelling. Let's rewind for a second. When Harry and Meghan first arrived in the U.S., it wasn't a Netflix deal or a Spotify podcast that kept them afloat. It was Tyler Perry. He not only gave him a mansion to live in, but also security, privacy, and legitimacy in Hollywood. And in return, they gave him something symbolic. The title of godfather to their daughter, Lily. But here's where it gets murky. There was no official christening, no verified details, and no public acknowledgement from the palace. Just a line dropped in their Netflix docuseries. Skeptics raised eyebrows at the time, but now the questions are deafening. Was it real or was it PR? Because when Perry got hit with his lawsuit, Meghan went dark. Posts were deleted, mentions erased, photos vanished. One day he was a cornerstone of their new life. The next, radio silence. And that silence wasn't just loud. It might have been contractual suicide. Legal sources close to the situation claim Perry and the Sussexes had a non-disclosure agreement, but with a twist. If Perry were ever publicly cut off, he would be free to speak. Meghan's digital eraser might have triggered exactly that. And if he speaks, it won't be vague. Word is he's got receipts. Not the kind that get brushed aside in tabloids, real unfiltered stuff. Recordings from the days they pitched Netflix, private planning sessions, candid messages, things that show the narrative wasn't just raw emotion. It was rehearsed, curated for sympathy, packaged for profit. If you followed Meghan and Harry's post-royal journey, you've seen the pattern. Emotional interviews, teary confessions, carefully timed media appearances that draw attention when things go wrong. When Perry's scandal exploded, what did Meghan do? She dropped lifestyle blog posts, posed for dreamy photos with wine glasses and soft filters. It's a formula. Control the story. Shift the focus. But this time, the distraction isn't working. The public isn't buying it. Hashtags like Tyler knows all are blowing up. Former fans are rethinking everything. One tweet that went viral said it best. We defended Meghan when it mattered. But if this was all a lie, we were used. That's the knife twist. If Perry reveals the Godfather title was fake, or worse, used as a brand move, then even their child's image was part of the spin.
Strategically placed loyalty can mean survival. If Harry and Meghan backed Perry, it could encourage others to do the same. But instead, their silence feels like pure self-preservation.
And this goes deeper. If those recordings show the Netflix content was stage managed, that interviews were scripted for impact, then it's not just a PR nightmare, it's a credibility collapse. Their deals, their influence, their public sympathy, it all hangs on the thread of authenticity. And Perry, he might be the one with scissors in hand. Behind the scenes in Montecito, things were never as serene as they looked. While the public saw a couple sipping tea and talking about healing, Insiders were witnessing something else entirely, a strategic empire being built. Tyler Perry wasn't just a friend with a spare house. He was part of the inner circle, privy to private calls, personal breakdowns, and big-picture decisions. Now, the very person they once trusted with everything might be the one to expose how it all really worked. It wasn't just about shelter. Perry was involved in some of the most pivotal moments during the Sussexes' transition. Sources claim he listened in on discussions around media rights, helped them script talking points, and even offered feedback on how to frame their royal exit for maximum emotional weight. Emails were sent, voice notes exchanged, late-night calls full of fear, ambition, and branding strategies. If any of this becomes public, it'll confirm what critics have been whispering for years, that this wasn't just a couple breaking free. It was a calculated rebrand from royalty to celebrity. And at the heart of this unraveling mess is the Godfather label. When Perry was announced as Lily's godfather, it was supposed to be a sweet nod to chosen family. But there were no formal records, no photos from a christening, nothing official. It was a verbal title mentioned in passing. At the time, people let it slide. Now, with everything being questioned, it feels more like a PR stunt than a sacred role. Perry's silence has been deafening. His team is reportedly being swarmed with offers, interviews, exclusives, book deals. 3 major media outlets are said to be negotiating for first rights. And you better believe they're not asking for fluff pieces. They want hard proof, real documentation, the kind that turns headlines into history. Legal experts say that if Perry talks, and especially if he shares anything that contradicts the Sussexes' Netflix content, it could open the door to legal consequences, not just backlash. Breach of contract, defamation claims, and fraud accusations aren't off the table. All eyes are now on Prince Harry's unexpected trip back to the UK. No cameras, no official statements. He just left alone. Some say he met with royal advisors. Others believe he was checking in with legal teams. But the timing was no coincidence. You don't vanish from California while your brand is on fire, unless you're trying to put out behind closed doors. And Meghan, she stayed behind, reportedly micromanaging her image online, dropping polished content to steer. Public attention back to her happy mom lifestyle. But the internet isn't playing along. Every new blog post is met with skepticism. Every filtered photo feels more staged. Even diehard supporters are hesitating because if this whole thing turns out to be one long con, if the tears, the trauma, the family breakups were all part of media blueprint, then the backlash won't just be brutal. It'll be permanent. The most dangerous part of all this, Perry knows where the bodies are buried. Figuratively, of course. But when someone's been inside your private life, when they've heard your unfiltered fears and your rawest plans, they don't need to lie to destroy you. All they have to do is tell the truth. And now it looks like he finally can. He's no longer the silent guardian of their story. He's the man holding the match, standing over the kindling they built themselves. One interview, one leaked voice memo, one email could blow the whole narrative sky high. And if that happens, there's no coming back. The illusion of control has always been Meghan and Harry's greatest asset. They mastered the art of timing, of turning every personal setback into a global conversation, every private moment into a public narrative. But this time, the script isn't theirs to write. The power dynamic has flipped. Tyler Perry, once a background figure offering quiet support, now holds a narrative in his hands. And the longer he stays silent, the louder the world listens. Social media has become a battleground. Hashtags like #LiLikeTruth and quotes Tyler knows all are gaining serious traction. Users are dissecting old interviews, comparing public statements to timelines, and questioning everything from birth certificates to Netflix edits. The public isn't angry because the Sussexes try to control their story. People get that. What's causing the outrage is the growing sense that they might have built their empire on curated half-truths while selling authenticity as their brand. Behind the scenes, damage control is in full motion. Sources say Meghan's team has reached out to media contacts to soften coverage, even offering off-their-own chats to steer the tone. But for every glowing headline, there are 10 more calling the entire Sussex image into question, especially now that whispers are growing louder about inconsistencies surrounding Lilith's birth. Why was there no formal hospital confirmation? Why did the announcement feel rushed and vague? And if Perry steps forward to say he was never truly involved as godfather, what does that mean for the rest of the story? Hollywood is watching closely, too. Meghan's image as a philanthropic force and Harry's position as a mental health advocate were always rooted in public trust. If that trust cracks, endorsements disappear, invitations vanish. Suddenly, the people who once championed their journey are distancing themselves. Brands that align with truth and transparency don't want to be associated with controversy that feels engineered. Legal experts are also circling. If Perry's recordings contain proof of manipulated storylines or worse, evidence of monetized fabrications, Netflix, Spotify, and other partners might revisit their contracts. A breach could mean pulled episodes, canceled deals, and lawsuits worth millions. It's not about tabloid gossip anymore. It's about intellectual property, reputational damage, and legal accountability. But the most personal consequence is also the most devastating. The story Harry and Meghan told the world wasn't just about injustice. It was about pain, about surviving the monarchy's pressure, enduring racism, and healing from generational trauma. If that story is proven to be deliberately embellished, it doesn't just make them look manipulative. It undermines real survivors who connected with their message. It turns empathy into skepticism. That kind of betrayal cuts deep. Tyler Perry, for his part, has yet to say a word publicly. But insiders claim he's not just sitting on data. He's curating it, sorting through old files, consulting legal teams, deciding whether to go nuclear or stay quiet. And while Meghan and Harry scramble to patch holes, Perry holds a detonator. He's not a tabloid source. He's a respected filmmaker, an industry heavyweight. If he talks, people will listen. This isn't just a PR crisis. It's a reckoning, a moment where image meets reality, and only one can survive. Meghan and Harry bet everything on controlling their own story. But when you rely too heavily on the narrative, you forget the one rule that always catches up. Receipts don't lie. And Tyler Perry,